Hey guys, welcome back or welcome to this new episode of Breakdowns with Bromley. In this episode, we get to talk to Keenan Meadows and uh, pick his brain about UFS and his Mad Puro deck that he ran rampant with and tinkered with over the course of these last few years. But it was a pleasure to have him on. I had a really long, awesome conversation with him. I hope you guys enjoy.
Hello, Chris Bromley.
Hey man, how's your quarantine experience going?
Dude, it's not bad. I get to work from home for the first time basically in my life, and that has been wonderful.
Nice.
Not dealing with Atlanta traffic and getting to, cook all of my own food as opposed to going out constantly. So like that's been really great. I am missing the outside though.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been like taking brisk walks just to like get some air.
Yeah. Getting to walk around my apartment has been just like cathartic for me. It's like wow, I can get out and walk to the trash can, and then I can walk like around other people's houses, and hopefully they're not weirded out by that. But I see other people walking around, so I figure it's fine.
I've had this sort of on the back of my mind for a while. There's been a bunch of decks that I've seen like since I started playing that I thought were, innovative and fun, doing something interesting, and people who were successful with those decks. And the Mad Bureau was, of course, blew me out of the water in Atlanta. And then you just kept playing it. And it became a meme. I mean, I remember when I started playing, I saw Coffee Samba and I was like, this seems nuts. But everybody else in my local was like, shut up, Chris Bromley. You've been playing for a week. Your opinion doesn't matter. Right. And they're like, it's dog shit. It's a one check. It's so terrible. And then you showed up to Atlanta and then just blew everything off the face of the earth and continued doing that right up until Worlds. And then you played it again at this most recent World. So it's something that's obviously resonated with you. I think it's a wonderful deck, and I love to see just in anything when someone like has such a connection to a character like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how that is because for the longest time I was the Fae guy, right?
Yeah, for sure. I remember that.
And
I think she's a super good character. I think people should still be playing her. She's very underplayed, but like any character that can give you so much momentum that you don't know what to do with is
it's
insane.
just all the tools. Yeah. I definitely I usually have a list built. It's just tough to beat 6-hand size 25 health.
Yeah.
So, like I was saying, the point of my series is that I wanted to take a look at lists that were cool and innovative and fun with players that I really admire and enjoy being around and have a long conversation with you about, reminiscing about your deck, of course, but the play at I'm going to hone in on a particular event, and I'm going to leave that up to you, which one you feel like is your most one you had the most fun at, and then maybe like a retrospective and a future thing, an epilogue, perhaps you could say.
Okay.
Because that's it's always fun to to pick people's brains about what they think the state of the game is and where it's going to go and all that jazz. So let's start with what drew you to the deck. Why did you take? Because I went through all of the Keenan Meadows Mad Puro decks that I could find on UFS Ultra, and the attack lineup is remarkably consistent. I mean, like sometimes you were running ISSP Execution, sometimes you were running the Grapple. I know you were playing Shadow Slicer at Worlds. But like 4 Ailerophobia, 4 Coffee Samba, 3 Technical Sphere is like that's gospel.
That's the formula.
Right?
Yeah,
that's gospel. The attack lineup, the foundations changed up a little bit over time, mostly because of rotations and things like that. But what it's obviously refined. But what brought you to that?
So it was an interesting meta because the game had changed drastically when I first built that deck. That was so the set prior to Bebop was Street Fighter, when one of the most one of the most underpowered sets in the game. And I know there are people who will say and die on the hill that Street Fighter was a great set, and there were some important cards in Street Fighter, but for the most part, once Bebop came out, Street Fighter became irrelevant.
Right.
And I was kind of stuck at this point where it was like, all right, well, I can continue to play in Irrelevancy and play all these characters that I was playing before Bebop, or I can jump into the Bebop meta. And so I was like, well, let's see what it has to offer. And I have a couple like very specific boxes I like to check when I'm building. The first thing I'm not a big fan of is like running all of a character's support just to like play their support. I really like to. I grew up in the UFS where it wasn't about a one character support or one character. It was about the symbols you could play, and then the character was sort of secondary. And so this was kind of like the last time I feel like I was really able to do that, where you could like take the fire symbol and all of these wonderful pieces that had just been given to it, and like a card or two cards out of Mad Pro support and make it work. And so Coffee Samba, Coffee Samba was an interesting find because I had never played really bad checks. I had so many bad experiences with like checking a 2 at a really bad time. And like I lost finals of teams at Worlds a couple times due to 2 checks at a bad time. So I was like, this is not what I want to do. And then I saw Coffee Samba and I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. And I actually drafted it in my Cowboy Bebop pre-release deck. And I was like, let's just see how this card is, because it seems awesome on paper. I get to draw 2 cards. I get some stun, maybe some multiple. It's probably pretty good. And like when I ended up winning that that match, and I think that was the finals of that pre-release came down to me and Ashley, and I think that I got to beat her with Cowboy Bebop, and I was like, this card's or with a Coffee Samba. I was like, this card is awesome. There is nothing this card cannot do. And for a while, that was true. And so seeing that Mad Pro and the big shots had so much synergy, seeing how ridiculous the big shots could make Allurophobia, like the formula kind of brought itself together. And that's what I really like, being able to get ahead and like think of a deck first. Like if there's already a deck that exists, like I can build it and I will have fun doing it, but it's not going to be fun unless I put my own spin on it for me.
Right.
And so that was where it was like, I get to put this together. And I didn't even like, I was going into the Atlanta PTC because that was the first tournament that I actually played it at. I built the deck like the week before and never tested it. I just was like, I had it, I goldfished a couple times. I was like, this seems fun and silly and ridiculous. And I was like, all right, we'll give this a shot. And then I brought it into the tournament and I won, and it was my first PTC win. And I don't know how long, it had been a while. It had been like probably 5 or 6 years at that point. And I was just like, oh, okay, I think I've got something here. And so that's sort of when everything started. Was I was like, all right, well, maybe there's something to this. Let me see if I can refine it. And one of the really fun things, you're looking at all these different lists that I had, and like the thing about the deck is it's so tight. Like there are so many pieces that mandatorily have to be in the deck for it to work. And so changing the attack lineup and changing the foundations by like 1 card is actually super nerve-wracking, because you're like, the whole deck just fits together like this beautiful puzzle, and you have to like there was one build that I did where I played Fatality and ISSP Execution just so that I could play Bang on everything. And I think I took the Tech Spheres out of that build because I wanted to be able to chain water so that I could Fatality Bang stuff, because that's when Shinnok and the Abyss was becoming a thing. And I was like, I can't physically beat that deck. He burns for 3 and my entire offense shuts off. So I have to find another way around it. And so it's just been this whole trial and error thing. And it's a really, really fun deck to play because it's so fast. And the reason that it did so well at the beginning of its tenure when it was first like coming out was because the way that I like to play UFS, like the way that I would play UFS every time if I could, is I shut my opponent's defenses completely down and hit them with one thing and it wins the game. And I've played UFS like that since Legacy, when that was the only way to play the game. So I was able to bring a little bit of that Legacy flavor with more attacks and more bad checks to Standard. And I was like, this is a lot of fun. And the problem is that over time, there have become more answers have gotten into the game, and it's become easier to combat all the broken stuff that Pro does. When Pro came out, the meta had just shifted to Bebop World. And so it was time to deal with all of these ridiculously overpowered cards, but in this very small set. Now there are like 8 other sets just as strong. So there's a lot more offense that exists. There's a lot more things you have to be able to defend against. And playing that deck at 59 cards is a lot harder now. And so I don't know necessarily if he is still like super tournament viable as the deck that I was playing at Worlds. I really just put that deck together just to kind of see what would happen. And I found out what would happen. It was a 4-4 record. It was not my best. But I mean, the nice part about going to Worlds now is that you go to Worlds and you see like 18 decks you want to build, and then you build all 18 of those decks and you try to play them as much as possible. So yeah, I know that was a lot and probably not answering your question.
No, that is a great answer. Well, so one interesting thing you mentioned was that it's like a puzzle, and like I said, like I went through a lot of these lists. I mean, and there are tons of people who played your basically card for card. Mark Wisniewski played it.
He added a couple.
Shoemaker played. Yeah, you're right. These are not. They're not. But it was net decked. It's like a and everybody has to take their spin on it. But he took your idea and he did things with it. And I'm sure that you disagreed or agreed, but your lists also changed just as much as Mark Wisniewski's and even from Atlanta to Worlds they changed quite a bit. So what were some of the cards that you said you had some difficulty taking in and out? Like what did you test with?
So I think going into going into Worlds, I think it was very simple because there weren't a whole lot of things that I felt pressured to answer. And I don't think that Mortal Kombat had come out that Worlds, or if it did, it was super new. So people weren't doing the Shinnok Abyss thing, so I wasn't too worried about that. But going into the subsequent Nationals, I became super worried about it. And so that was where like Tech Sphere kind of got on the ropes, like I was talking about. The thing about it was I played in Nationals and I was like, this deck doesn't have enough punch to it. Like it's losing its offense, it's losing its damage pretty heavily by losing Tech Sphere. And I ended up getting to top 16 in Nationals and then losing to Mark Wisniewski playing Jet. And I felt at the Atlanta PTC matching into a Jet was fine. I felt like I could easily out damage him and just knock him over. Right. And against Mark Wisniewski, without having Tech Sphere in my deck, suddenly the damage level was so much lowered because I was teching for other stuff that I ended up losing pretty badly there. So I feel like the deck has a very few pieces that you can shift depending on the meta, but the meta needs to be well defined in order for that to work as well as you want it to work. So I feel like, I mean, the pieces that I would always keep in there, Explosive Acrobatics, obviously, because you have to get their Tech Spheres online, and when they changed the Mulligan rule, that's when Tech Sphere came out. And then now that the new Inferno 1/5 foundation is out that removes other cards from the discard pile, you can still do it. But like so Explosive Acrobatics, Overly Dramatic was core to the deck, obviously, because you have to be able to stop Deliverance, you have to be able to stop speed resets, refusing to let go, it stops all of that. Coffee Samba core to the deck, and Tech Sphere's core to the deck. Like as long as you play Allurophobia, Tech Sphere, Coffee Samba, you can slot the third slot is pretty is pretty malleable. And I tried Shadow Slicer out, and the card won me some games, and there were also cases where it didn't, like it lost me some games because it doesn't have a block on it. And when you're playing a 7-hand size character whose entire defense is also its offense, you have to pay your offense in order to defend with Punch and Judy. And then when you draw up your hand and you can't kill them, it's because you used your whole offense to defend yourself. There's a lot of trade-off there. And so I think like if I was going to keep refining that deck and keep trying it, I'd probably take the Shadow Slashes out, try to find some new attacks off of fire that could kind of, it's got to skirt the line. It's got to be an attack that when you draw it and you're on your offense turn, you're like, I can use this. I can somehow use this as a substitute for either Coffee Samba, Allurophobia, or Tech Sphere if I don't draw one of those things. Or when it turns around and I don't kill you, I can hold it from my hand for defense. And fire as an offensive symbol is pretty strapped for those kinds of cards. Like there's Flamora, which obviously is good until your opponent plays low attacks, and then Flamora is dead in your hand. There is ISSP, which is a fine attack. It doesn't do too much. It does 7 damage and it's 5 speed and pro, which is decent with a stun 2 rating on it. But like at the end of the day, does it necessarily win you the game? Not as much as you want it to. So like that's what's so cool. Like there is it takes so much stuff to like figure out what is that last slot. And the hardest part of going into that tournament, like of going into this last upcoming Worlds, was realizing that I was going to have to up my attack count from 15 to 16. Suddenly I had to go down an action card for that because I needed to make sure that my foundation count was still solid. I had to realize that I was going to be checking more threes. My checks are absolutely what ruined me that entire day. Like that deck lives and dies on its own. It doesn't like there are times where it like actively loses to its opponent, and that's becoming more easy with the amount of damage that's coming out. But at the end of the day, like you can kill anyone on 2 in that deck if you just draw 3 cards. It's a 3 cards you can kill anybody on 2.
Right.
But my deck was like, all right, turn 1, you're going to check a 1 on your 3rd card you play every single time. And at the end of the day, there's no way to account for that, given the fact that the deck hadn't been doing that up to that point. So I feel as though like adding the extra attack in there overall kind of decreased the efficacy of it. So but again, it's just like so many intricate pieces that need to be just so in order for it to run. So if I was going to do it, all over again, I'd find some other attacks. There was a build I was playing that was, I was playing Lil 2s as a 1x, ISSP as a 1x, and Flame Aura as a 1x. And my objective was just like get him in my discard pile, remove him from the game, and then Hexproof can do whatever I want. Except for Flame Aura, which is obviously just like you hold it until you win. Or Thor, awesome. So, but yeah, like those that was an option. It just felt so underpowered, or just it was either underpowered or it was too random, or it was both of those things. Shadow Slicer seemed obvious, like just as this card makes every deck better, right? Like right now it does, and maybe it didn't make that deck better, but I had to play a tournament with it to find out.
I can see there being some dissonance in your deck, because like it's a 3-card combo, and suddenly you're adding in this looping mechanism,
right?
That feels like you're softening people up, and that's less combo oriented, like the hero deck that you played typically was, which is I mean it's good to test, right, at the very least.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting segue. A lot of players I see, like Tim Keefe, I love to pick his brain because he's such a numbers guy.
Yeah.
And he like hates combo decks to death. And I don't take that personally, because I love combo decks too. I mean, and nothing Tim Keefe ever, if he says he hates, it's not because he hates your thing, right? It's just how do you feel about not combo decks, right? Like people who are going to do, like, this is my hand tax deck, or this is my string deck. A lot of people will play those, and it's totally alien to me, right? Like I'll take somebody else's list that's very successful and really, really great, and I just can't play it. It's impossible for me to play because it doesn't have. I can't see the wheels turning. And I feel like you're like that too. Like I remember in our match at Nats last year. How frustrating it was for you because of the wheels couldn't turn. You weren't drawing enough attacks, right?
Yeah.
Like you wanted your combo and it wasn't comboing. And it wasn't that you weren't drawing attacks, because you definitely killed the crap out of me, right? But you were like, I didn't get my combo. Yeah. I had to kill with the string of attacks. So do you have that problem too? Like, do you feel like, is that what made you want to play Pyro for so goddamn long?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Like I said, like since I played in Legacy, all of my decks up to a point try to build to a here's your big, and I think that's how a lot of UFS works. And Tim Keefe's style has always interested me because it is very much here's a poke, here's a really, really effective poke. Here's the best poke that Tim Keefe can find off of the symbol that he's playing on with the character that he's playing, and then I'll build, and then I'll do that again, and then I'll build, and it's like, I get it, and I understand why it's good, and I've built so many decks recently based on what I see as his method, because I'm looking at his deck lists, and I am trying to figure out what his ratios are, attacks to non-attacks. I'm trying to figure out what he's finding as a good poke, and try to figure out why is that a good card to him as opposed to good cards to me. I think his method is obviously more effective than my method is, because he's winning more and he's a better player than I am regardless. But like sort of studying a lot of his stuff, I found that this I really liked what he was doing, and so I built my Chaos Lilith deck that I played at the Mississippi PTC, based very much on his Lilith, but it was off of a totally different symbol. But numbers
maybe doing
wise,
something similar.
Yeah, but yeah, like numbers wise, number of attacks wise, number of like everything else, it was very similar because I was paying attention to what he was doing. And what I really appreciate about his ability, like he's focused very much on the numbers, like you're saying, and nobody plays a 6-hand size character that is only limited to the 6 cards in their hand better than Tim Keith. That man looks at his hand and he goes, here are all the things that I need all of my cards to do within the next 2 turns. Now let me do those things with them and see what happens. Right. And it's so impressive. I was never a 6-hand size player before I started like studying what he does. And now I've been playing 6-hand size and 5-hand size even more so. Like I played Kuwabara. And so like, I feel like going all the way back to Perot, I feel like Perot is a representation of what I have been doing in UFS for most of my career. Mm-hmm. And like moving away from Perot is growth. And I really like that about it because like the UFS has so many different facets and so many different ways to play. The nice part about Perot is that his efficacy of here is a kill and it's done and it's over. And my game is 15 minutes long and I know I'm going to kill you is so easy. And it's so second nature to me. And that's how I built decks for so long. I need my deck to be efficient. I need my deck to build to a win as fast as possible and then do that thing. But like getting the chance to slow down and interact with your opponent a little bit more and getting the opportunity to outplay them while they still get to do things is satisfying in its own way. And ultimately it actually works out better because you have a lot more flexibility on your side to play defense, offense, all that stuff. So like with Perot, when I dropped the Coffee Samba and then my opponent had Allurophobia and sense of morals and refusing to let go, and then I would stun them down and then they would just get to use sense of morals on Allurophobia any day. Like my deck is shut off. I can't do anything. Congratulations, you win. You did Tim Keith deck, which may have like missed a launch area, but it also has a bunch of other stuff that's going to make that refusing to let go a lot worse over time or what have you. So I mean, they're I don't know. I really like the combo element, but I need to learn to be better than that. And so I think that's a lot of what I've been trying to do recently.
Okay. Now you talked a lot about ratios and numbers, and I know that there's a ton of players who I know who are very, very good at the numbers, right?
Yes.
Kevin Broberg, who was my teammate at Worlds, is extremely good at that stuff, and he'll pick me apart all day long. I am not that guy. I'm very not that guy. I build based on feel almost all the time and just rely on UFS Ultra. Are you? It sounds like you're really big onto numbers because something as small as 15 to 16, right? When you talk about how a deck performs between 15 and 16 attacks, is that something you go into?
So I like to pretend that I'm good at numbers. At the end of the day, I'm not at all. 100%. I'm one of the worst numbers players out there. I have all of these theories and all of these ideas of how the game should quote unquote work. And then I go to Worlds and I get my ass beat. And it's because all of my understanding is not necessarily what is meta or what is good. And so I feel like it's a constant learning process. Like I know mechanics of UFS. I can play with the best of them, but like at the end of the day, it's I would love for the numbers to always work out the way that I think they're going to work out. And every single time I build a deck, I find out that it doesn't do that. Now, Perot is a special case because Perot started with a formula that never really changed over time. And if it ever did, it was because it was very like you had to like think about it really, really hard, because the thing about playing one checks is your deck is going to vary wildly from game to game. And so as soon as did you ever watch Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, love that show.
You know when Chris Traeger is talking about how like his body is a microchip? Yeah. And the illness is this grain of sand that is screwing with the microchip. Like anything that you do to that deck is a grain of sand in it that is going to somehow fuck with the microchip. Right. But like it was only because that deck was so tight. So it was built to go so fast. And it was so efficient that it needed to be as numbers heavy as it got. And like, I figured out by feel the way to push it as far as it could go. Because after I played it in my first tournament, I kept playing it and kept refining it and kept feeling it out. And I don't think that there were a whole lot of changes I made after the first tournament, but as things started to rotate and I was forced to do that, like It makes you think on your feet. Now suddenly I've got to start changing up and figure out how I can make this feel better. What I should have done before Worlds was getting some more testing in with the Shadow Slicer build to just sort of see what that felt like. But I was paranoid that if I played it more, it would get worse over time. But really, it was already bad, and I just needed to play to find that out. So, going back to numbers, like I really wish I was good at numbers, and like sometimes I will build a deck that makes no sense. The numbers are terrible and it works really well. And sometimes I will build a deck where the numbers seem immaculate and it doesn't do anything. And I think at the end of the day, I much prefer a feel version. And I know you're a musician. I'm also a musician.
Oh, what do you play?
I play piano. I got my degree in jazz piano.
Oh my God, we talked about this. I'm dumb, dude.
Yeah, we did talk about this. But like I feel as though musicians are always considered like numbers people, but really they do a lot on feel, and the numbers come second a lot of the time.
Yeah, hell no. You know the scale, and then you never remember it because you accidentally played a different note, and suddenly that's part of your
and the note sounded awesome, so let's keep doing it. Like I was in jazz, okay? Like any notes, whatever. Exactly. It's just an augmented something of something else. Like it's fine.
Yeah, there's two steps between a Coltrane and Alan Holdsworth, and the steps is adding more accidentals.
Exactly.
So an interesting thing, a theory of mine when I looked at this list, right? Because I look at some people's lists, and you know, some people really honed in on how they think the meta is, right? Which is kind of hard to do in our game because there's so few players, right? Like Mark Tyner had this great quote that I didn't get into the last video, where he said that like you could basically look at, or you could call people you know are going to a PTC, and you will know the meta, right? You'll
know exactly what's going there. Yeah.
Like if it was you, me, and Mark Tyner who are going to an 11-man PTC, right? And BFE, right? And he could call you and me, and he could be like, okay, well, here's these guys are going to be in top 8, and because there's 3 people who aren't going to be in it, and I'll know what I have to play to tech against, right? And his list was so teched, right? Like he had very specific things that he still remembered from Rockford PTC, that he was like, I was ready for this thing, and I was ready for this thing, and I was for that thing, and like it feels like Matt Perot is so like laser focused on what he does. That you just kind of ignore that, right? You blaze right past meta considerations, and you're just kind of like when you did try to make the meta call for like the Shinnok with the Abyss, right? It reduced your capacity for blazing laser focus.
It made me less effective against other decks that it needed to be effective against.
But I think it's an important thing to note that those things exist, right? There are decks that do that like have basically 60-40 against everything, right? And you don't have to tech for all those stuff. And they tend to be combo oriented because you're trying to build to a state that you can just obliterate your opponent's defensive options
no matter what.
Right? No matter what. It doesn't matter what they do, right? Like in a specific thing. And I tell people this story, and I probably told you this 100 times, but I'll tell the viewers this is when we played, and this was like 3 weeks after I started playing. It was in the final round in Atlanta, and I had like 3 answers out on my board, and it was like I was off air, so I had like Securing His Destiny, Formidable Task, and something else, and I don't remember what it was. But you went like Coffee Samba, and I had the Formidable Task for the second enhance. And then you went Technical Sphere, Copy Disc, Coffee Samba, and I Securing His Destiny, that thing. And at that point, I just had nothing left in my hands. You're like, fucking allurophobia. Like, it didn't matter, right?
Sometimes you win.
Well, no, you still get to Punch and Judy, because now all of a sudden I was out of those answers, right? So even though you didn't get to like touch all of my staging, I was still out of stuff, right? And so it didn't matter how prepared I thought I was for this, because I was super scared of Big Shot on missile launchers. I thought Jet was the spookiest dude at that time, because some guy locally blew my face off with every time.
Yeah, well, Stun 4 missile launcher that also has Powerful 6 and EX4 and
pretty spooky.
All the Punch and Judy stuff. That's terrifying.
Yeah, pretty spooky.
Reasonably so.
Right. But you know, like that. I think that's a good juxtaposition, is that, you know, some people are going to go real hard on trying to be super teched out for what they perceive as what the meta is going to be, and then some people are going to do what you did, which is just like, I can't prepare for everything. Yeah, my deck is not going to be prepared for everything. Yep. I'm gonna get it as close to as consistent as possible to make it so that I have that opportunity to go and do as well as you did. I mean, I don't like I also went 4-4 at Worlds, Keenan. Okay, so it's not just you. It's okay. There's that was a spooky meta. I feel like there were so many times I got turn 1, and being a 7-hander against turn 1 decks is very tough.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was playing Quan Chi, and that's a banned deck. So obviously that just means I'm super bad. Matt Burrell wasn't banned, right? You know?
No, he wasn't. None of the cards ever got banned, which was awesome. I felt like with Allurophobia the way that it was, I thought for a while that card was getting banned, and I think we still might see one with the way the Turnaloose is using it now, to kind of talk about the premonitions. But I wanted to go back to your talking about how the deck had a bunch of different ways to like get past all of your opponent's stuff because of all the ways that it could answer that. I had one match in particular that I wanted to just kind of bring up because it was, I think, the best Perot match that I played since I played the deck, and it was top 16 at the Worlds where I Swiss champed, and that was the Worlds before you got to go first if you were the Swiss champ. So that was that I think that was the last Worlds that they did that at. But I got to play against Dan Krieger playing Stoneman. And Stoneman is the worst matchup for Punch and Judy ever.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry. I'm so sorry. He was playing Dimitri sideboarding into
Stoneman. Okay.
And I lost my game 1 going into that deck. And I was looking at my hand. I was looking going, now he's Stoneman. Now I can't win. I somehow beat him out game 2 by playing like, you know, just like reasonable defense and getting some momentum and getting some Coffee Samba multiples out. And I was like, all right, so my game plan going into this game 3 is Coffee Samba is my only way out. Allurophobia does nothing. Punch and Judy do effectively nothing because he just gives -2, so they're just +1s whenever you activate them. But I just got a Coffee Samba out. So I rip up my hand, and this is before the old mulligan, so I know I'm going to have to remove it from the game if it's bad, and it was Coffee Samba, Coffee Samba, Coffee Samba, Coffee Samba, Technical Sphere, Punch, and a Foundation. And I look at this hand and I go, well, I have 2 options. I'm going second. I have the option A where I mulligan this hand and can't win this matchup, or I have the option B where I check a 5 and we see what happens. So he builds his foundation. Stoneman is committed. And I go, all right, I'm going to review this punch. And I drew into a Judy, and I was like, well,
of course you did.
What happens now? Drop Coffee Samba, rip the 5, E with Coffee Samba, draw 2 foundations, completely stun him out. Punch it, Judy it, because there's no way those cards are going to have any efficacy after this turn.
Right. That's the turn.
And from there, I was able to build to a state. I built 3, and I built to a staging area where I was able to take him down. And it was one of those things where it was like, this is the insurmountable obstacle. Like, that was the Shinnok with the Abyss of that tournament that I knew I wasn't going to be able to beat. Like, there was no winning against that. And luckily, because Coffee Samba is such a versatile card, and 5-handers have a hard time denying their opponent's momentum, I was able to break through the wall that is Stoneman and get on the top 8. So like that was just like that really proved to me like how versatile the deck was and how interesting like you could play it to where it's not always that thing. And I think that's important for a combo deck, is to always have a plan B. Yeah. And so often that can be difficult to find, but if you can find a plan B that's just a little bit less effective than your plan A, but it's just by that much, like I think you got yourself an effective combo deck.
Yeah, you got to have some other out, right?
Yeah.
I that's awesome, and I love that's one of the my big questions I wanted to drop on people was, were there combos that that came up that you weren't necessarily trying to come up with? And drawing 3 Coffee Sambas and 2 Technical Spheres is certainly one of them.
Yeah.
Especially back then when you couldn't just shove those on the bottom of your deck. I mean, they were gone.
Right, yeah.
Those
so like, oh no, I lose these forever now. This is terrible. I cannot win. I checked a 5 and we're off to the races. But that's a nice thing about playing 15 card decks or 15 attack decks, right? Like you can feasibly pass that on 1 and feel a little bit better than when you've got like 17 to 19 cards. You're like, all right, this is closer to a 2/3 issue than it is to a 1/4 issue. And so, yeah, I just like that was definitely like the match. That was the match of that deck. If that deck had a match to go back and be like, this was it. It was that one. So that felt like winning Worlds. So then when I lost in top 4 to James Stevens, I was upset, but like it was I'd already gotten the victory I needed.
You still had that feather in your cap, you know?
Exactly. Like how does Punch and Judy beat Stoneman? Oh, you just throw a million multiples at it. It's fine.
Okay, so I think we've established a few things that you like were spooked by, right? And I think in a general sense, like Cool and Focused is pretty good into the ailurophobia decks, right?
Pretty much. I don't think I've ever really been hit with a Cool and Focused in a game that I expected to win.
Right. Well, there's an important thing is that they still have to check not a 3, right? Like, so even because you've stunned them totally out.
Right.
And you've talked about Shinnok with the Abyss being a thing that you were afraid of. Stoneman, what were some things that if they opened up against you, you were like, God bless America. You know, this is what I wanted. What were the decks that you loved to see?
I look, that's the thing though. I didn't have a problem with any one deck. It was just making sure that like I got the cards that I needed. That's the thing about that deck. I wasn't paying attention to what they were playing half the time because I knew at the end of my first attack, their board was committed, and my hand, if it included an Allurophobia and a Puncher Judy, and I had 1 or 2 in my discard pile, we were getting there. Right. So like there were. But basically what I was really looking forward to was like, I found that deck had a really good matchup against Spike 1 at a time when Spike 1 was the top of the meta. Like when Bebop came out, we were like, oh my God, Spike 1, let's all play him right now. And I was like, well, you can give -2 speed to my Coffee Samba, but giving -2 speed to an 11 speed Allurophobia still kills you. So this is going to be fine. And so I ended up getting to play against a ton of Spike 1s at the Worlds that I Swiss champed. And I beat every single one of them, and that was because like every single time they would try to establish a defense, it was like, all right, well, you don't have a whole lot of sun defense, so I'm just going to go ahead and clear that. So that was probably the deck. Like I think because it was so strong and it was built so high as like this is the bully character right now, and then just being able to be like, all right, well, I don't know what your defense does, but it doesn't matter because you're dead. That felt good. So yeah,
cool beats, man. Okay. So I think you've answered most of the things I wanted to ask you in you know, we don't need to go into a specific event because I think I've got so much wonderful stuff from you. What are you playing right now? What's your favorite deck at the moment? Is it the Kotal Khan you played against Jason?
So I actually just built that Kotal Khan deck like last week, and I was like, this seems awesome. The build is 26 attacks and 6 action cards, and then 27 foundation. Like it's a tight 59, and it is playing incredibly aggressively. I'm really enjoying it. The problem with it is that its blocks suck and are terrible. So like I was initially playing like 29-30 with non-foundations to foundations. And I realized like if I just sub 3 of these foundations out for revoke, I have defense pieces, whereas the foundations don't do anything for me with that. So like putting it together in theory crafting was a lot of fun. Playing it as a whole other animal because it plays a lot more like the Tim Keefe Kotal Khan that like it plays good attacks, but it also like tries to like backpedal and play good defense. And like the only defense are on those 6 action cards and then getting a saw blade strike into them.
In the words of somebody I know very well, it leans forward.
It does lean forward, yeah. But like you have to, because the thing about Kotal is like you have to realize like when you start burning yourself down, you're killing yourself and you're making it easy for your opponent. So if you can't do it right now, don't do it. So it's been really interesting.
Press the button.
Yeah, exactly. It's been really interesting learning not to just like pay life for stuff when I know like my blocks aren't very good, and if they start attacking me, I'm gonna be able to like deal with 1 or 2 things, but like. With accidentally getting downward spiraled, like suddenly you get downward spiraled, there's nothing you can do, but like suddenly you've got a cheeky 1x deliverance in your deck that you're just kind of holding on to. So like it's like 59 card decks are some of the most fun to play and build because they are just so like changing 1 card can change everything. Mm-hmm. But like at the other end of that, going into Worlds, I had this 80 card Lord Raptor deck built that I had a lot of fun with. And I played it in teams. I went 5-2. My only losses were to Clinton Thomas in Swiss and in Top Cuts. He was playing Air Raptor. And turns out not being able to enhance against other people's stuff is really NPE. So, you know, that's...
Get a taste of your own medicine, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's I got what I deserved, which is fine. But yeah, that deck is a lot of fun to play because it is so versatile, and so like you draw up your hand of like 7 cards, and they're all like some of the most ridiculously broken cards in the game. Like the deck gets to play 4 of the Voldo card that just removes your opponent's attacks, and Raptor always meets his requirement because he's just removing more cards than his opponent unless it's Ken. So like that deck was just so heavily defensive and just like had all these fun moving pieces. It was like here's like a legacy control deck. And I was like, this is awesome. This is so much fun. And then on the alternative side of that, like if you got to go first and drew a Friends and Rivals on 1 and a Hurricane of Death on 2, your opponent got to have no foundations for the rest of the game. That was a lot of fun too. Especially when they played Angels Unwise and Utah Rotom, and it was just like, oh man, this is a lot of fun. So like I think my favorite, like I don't have a favorite deck to play right now because my favorite thing right now is deck building. It's UFS is always the deck builder's card game. Like, and that's what I try to impress on any new players coming into the game. Like if you've played card games before and you know how fun deck building is, well, UFS will blow your mind. It is next level. You can build any character, you can play any symbol, you can figure out a way to make it work. And it's such a cool, like the Kotalkan deck that I'm playing now, I built it, and I don't think we've talked about this yet, but maybe we did before the call, but I built it because I had a local player say, I really want to play Kotalkan, but I don't have enough money for Forbidden Moon set. And I was like, well, that sucks, and it's totally understandable because that card is way too overpriced to want to just like shell out that money for it unless you have a whole ton of expendable income or are willing to trade away like a third of your collection to get them. So I was like, well, let's see what he does off Evil. And that's why I put the deck together, because it was like, I want to see if this character can be effective. And I started reading his cards and I was like, his cards are actually really good. Like being able to remove your Sun God choke for +5 damage on something is insane. Like that's a reasonable chunk of damage. And when it comes across for 7, because you've got critical ability floating on it and all that other stuff, like this is a threat. And then I realized like, oh, this card that everybody was so excited when it came out, Flip Cat, is insane in this character.
Right.
You get free momentum. So like as long as you play an attack on 1 and you get in your Momo, and then you go, here's an attack, put it in momentum, Flip Cat, get another momentum, +5 damage, +4 with Kotal, EX the crap out of it, like, and you get Sun God Choke on it. Like suddenly the deck just started coming together in ways that I didn't foresee. Like Flip Cat was a 2x in the initial build, and now it's a 4x because that card's awesome in him. And that's like, no one would ever explore that if they weren't thinking to themselves first, what does a Kotal without Moonset even look like? Right. And it's that kind of thinking that I feel like drives a lot of really good deck building right now. And like I think there's so many people doing that right now and creating these alternative builds of decks and there are people who aren't doing that, and there are like unexplored avenues for that. So I think it is super cool how like people can throw together stuff that no one's ever seen before and do really well with it. I didn't expect the Dark One to be good. When the Dark One came out, I was like, This character seems objectively not that great. Like he's a foundation every time and he burns himself and it's whatever. And then I didn't really read how good Hellfire Impoundment was going to be. Like, imagine a deck with 1,000,000 1-checks and 2-checks, and you're like, okay, this is probably fine. And then I got my ass handed to me by Garrison Bennell, absolutely destroyed by it. And now we have like 3 builds of it built. So like UFS is like the most inspirational card game for people who really want to just innovate and do more stuff. And like the decks that I'm building, I'm not saying that they're good decks. I don't know how good they are. I haven't got a chance to test them because there aren't enough players, there aren't enough tournaments, and right now everybody's locked in.
And we're in a quarantine,
Yeah, exactly. So like we will figure out how good they are, but I think it's great that we're getting more resources to do that with. I found out with Untapped you can import your UFS Ultra lists into the game, and I don't know about you, Chris, but I have probably 200 decks on UFS Ultra, and I've played maybe 20 of them over the course of the deck build. So whenever I just throw something together absentmindedly on accident, and I'm just like, let's see if this is good, and then I get to import it and just like goldfish it a little bit, and then maybe try to call one of my friends and say, hey, Chris, do you want to play against this really bad Kevin Broberg deck that I built today? Because it plays Shishio as a 2x because it's one of the best assets in the deck right now. And it plays Spirit's Sword Thrust, so I can pick up my face, and like it's like, and I didn't think about that before I started building him, but then I was like, what makes Kevin Broberg good? And that's what happened. And maybe that deck is good. I don't know. I haven't played it yet, but that's the thing. Like no one will know how good something is until they play it. UFS has so many open avenues. You've got infinite possibilities to explore. Yeah. So I just like I don't have a deck that I'm playing right now. What I'm playing right now, man, is UFS. I'm playing UFS, and UFS is the best thing in the world right now. So I am so just fortunate to be getting to play what is, in my mind, the best card game that has ever been made. and is being supported by a community that loves it and a company that wants to see it do well. And like it feels like the stars are aligning, and really what we need to see is just figuring out how to show other players that right now, like people who don't play the game but could. So
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better, man.
That was the longest way to answer that question. I'm so sorry.
No, man, I love it. I love I love where we arrived at.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of Hellfire Impalement, I asked Mark Tyner about Noob. So I'll ask you about Hellfire Impalement. Because when I saw that card, I built Bakugo with losers, and I was just trying to reuse those, right? But I put like 12 bad checks, and I was like, wow, this is adventurous, right?
Yeah.
And then now in this Legendary Wolf Games tournament that we're playing, I'm playing 28 bad checks in Janet.
I heard that you were playing Janet with Hellfire. I cannot wait to see that deck.
It's brutal, dude. That card is nuts. It is crazy. I mean, you fold directly to revoke, but like, who cares, you know? but what do you think about that card? Because it's not actually that many steps away from combo Puro, right? Like it's kind of you know, you're still playing this. I mean, I might not be playing Ailerphobius, but it's like impalement, Samba, whatever, you know. It's just a bunch of it feels almost combo like, even though you just kind of draw a bunch of cards. You're like,
right, you draw and you hope the cards you draw are good, and you're like, okay, I think I win, or I checked bad, I guess I lose. If you don't play the impalement,
my reaction to seeing those bad check decks was like, wow, this card needs to get banned immediately, and like, this card's nuts. And playing the deck too, it does, like, I feel like my turns take 45 minutes. And because of how long they're going, especially since I'm playing like covert intent and stuff. And just
covert with that. That was what Garrison Vanel was playing with Chinook at Worlds, and like we took, when Chinook got banned, we proxied every single World's top 16 deck, and we put them all together, and we took this Chinook and we pulled it out. We put Dimitri in there with the Rando Spirit Gun to just kind of like, you get to make things not count towards progressive, and like the deck failed on damage, but like the turns you could do with covert intent are just so silly and
it's
fun.
Nuts.
That's why UFS is so good, because it can reward that kind of like, this is fun to play. It was fun to watch myself get absolutely eaten alive by Garrison playing Chinook. So I'm really excited to see your Dejanet deck. Are you playing at 59 with 28 bad checks?
I think I played 62, but
wow, okay.
Spell Circle isn't really, so it's like 60.
So 61 essentially, and then you know, goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be intelligent. You don't Hellfire discard.
You don't just drop Hellfire on one with no foundations and hope that it works out.
Oh hell no, absolutely no. Okay, so I like that outlook on it. You know, that because I know on my end I feel bad sometimes playing like I was testing against some of my local players, and like, so you get to play against the deck if you go first and turn 2 you blow them out. But it is fun to see it go off. So I'll take that.
It's so fun to see it go off. I think the card isn't necessarily broken. I just think that it's going to be one of those things people are going to have to put more tech in against.
Right.
I foresee Lilith coming back in a big way because of the card. I think that, and with Shadow Slicer in the format, like, Lilith is a big character people have been sleeping on for too long. And like some people are playing her at tournaments, but like, I feel like we're going to see more people bringing her out because of these attacks that just do everything. Hellfire Helmet draws you every card in your deck and readies your true identity so you can do it again. Lilith says that doesn't happen.
Yes, and
then suddenly your opponent has to play fair. Suddenly your 2 checks matter and your 1 checks matter. And so like I think we're going to see that coming out. And I think we're going to see people playing more copies of that Bell Foundation that's just like flip it after they play a second card, because I mean, in those Hellfire Impalement decks, the worst thing you can run into is impalement. Like
doing it 2 or 3 times. Yeah, you did.
So I mean, there are answers to it, and I think we're going to see more answers coming out for it, because attacks are getting better, and they're trying to make defense better. And so with Hellfire,
we got Soul Calibur, right? That's a great answer, because it's
it is.
Venomous. Everybody should be running Venomous, dude. Card
Venomous
is crazy.
Is amazing.
Play Well Committed, dude. Yeah, I didn't read that until recently. It's Play Well Committed.
Oh no, that card is amazing. It's very, very good.
Any form of cancel, revokes. Go buy them, or go spend your pack redemptions.
Right? Yeah, or trade me. I think I'm at like 45 copies of that card.
Jesus Christ!
That card has been legal for 7 years, maybe more.
I thought I was a big shot by putting 4 different copies of it, like different arts, right?
Yeah,
and and then somebody said that there were like 5 more
Mm-hmm.
to complete my collection of Revokes.
I played Revoke in 2011 after that set came out.
Oh my god.
That card has been in Standard for 9 years. And I want it to stay in Standard. I wanted to keep. I honestly like.
I think it's a very far card.
Yeah, I was talking to Jason when I was playing him earlier, and I was like, if I could just have a couple cards stay around, I want Revoke and I want Deliverance to get reprinted because oh my god, that card is awesome. And then Out of Your League, and like if those 3 cards stayed around, and I would keep Concussion Blast, sure, why not? It's been legal for as long as Revoke has, we might as well. And Templar, whatever, just give it Breaker back, it's fine. Right. So I don't know, like I think. I want to see that card come back for sure once it cycles out. But it's because it's going to be the answer to Hellfire Impalement. It's going to be the answer to Shadow Slicer. It's going to be the answer to every single thing that Jason prints that's super broken and overpowered and looks ridiculous on paper. Revoke is just like soft, like all right, let's tone that down a little bit.
It's a knob, right?
As long as that card is in Standard, it's saving the format from just going like this. There are so many overpowered things, so. Yeah, I mean, and maybe they print out a different version of Revoke in another set, but like I think just taking the card as is and putting Aizawa's face on it from My Hero Academia and just shipping it off is fine. It's a great back page.
Ship it.
Yeah, ship it for sure.
Yeah. Okay, man. Well, I think this was wonderful. Thank you for making time in your day.
I mean, I got to talk about a deck that I built 2 years ago and won a bunch of tournaments with, and like that's every UFS player's wet dream, right? Like that's all we want to talk about is like, oh yeah, at this tournament I did super good. Like that's why would I not come on this show, right?
Right. Well, I thank you for coming on. You have any shout outs you want to put out there?
Yeah, shout out to Ashley for being my constant UFS testing partner. Go ahead and
check that box.
Yeah, she's playing Animal Crossing right now. She just gave me a look. It was a good look. Shout out to Atlanta, of course. My boys, Shen, Dave, the late Drew Maffei, who is actually dead. He's just like constantly
got a family
this game.
Right.
Piglet, Ian, Matt Maffei, Marco, Thomas Raw, Philip Watson, Hayden. Chris, I put myself into a hole. I have to name every single one of them.
All those are screwed.
Will and Nick, CJ, David, Alabama, who comes out constantly, and just the UFS community. Like this is such a good group of people. Every single time I get an opportunity to go to a tournament, I get to see all of my favorite people all in the same room, all over again. It never gets old. It's always fun. It's always a good time. We get to play a stupid card game no one's ever heard of that everybody loves to play and just has so much love for. And like I just like shout outs, man. Just shout outs. This is for everyone in the UFS community. They're all so good.
Okay, man. Well, I got to do my obligatory sponsor shout out to Legendary Wolf Games. Go buy your singles. Play in their quarantine tournaments, which Keenan and I are playing in. Yeah, it's fun.
They're a lot of fun.
It's definitely. I have a match later on tonight because my opponent doesn't get home until 9 Pacific time.
Yikes.
So I got to play at midnight, which is
Please
fun.
beat them so I don't have to play them later because I will be asleep by 9.
Yeah, there you go. And to my beautiful girlfriend who's playing, what are you doing? What are you doing? What music is that? She's listening to Schubert.
Schubert?
It's very popular. Dutchman and Miller. Miller's daughter.
Well, you look beautiful.
Thank you.
See you later. All right, guys. Thank you for coming on. And hopefully I can get Ashley on here because I'd love to have her on.
You can definitely get Ashley on here. Ashley, you want to come on Chris's show? Yeah. All right. She said yep.
Sounds good. We'll see you next week.
All right.
All right, man. I'll let you go. Thank you for coming on, and